Hello YNABers, my name is Jesse Meekum from YNAB. It stands for You Need a Budget. Welcome to another Whiteboard Wednesday. Today I want to talk just briefly about bench pressing and budgeting. I bring up bench pressing not because it's the most useful lift, it's not. Everyone knows that's the squat. But bench press is the most popular lift, especially if you're a high school boy, buys and bench press. That's the standard fare. And that's what I was doing one time, and I was about 18 and I got stuck under the bar. And I was the only person in the gym except for the sweet secretary that was way far away. And I had to yell for her several times. She finally came and we were able to get it off my chest. Now, what does that have to do with budgeting? A little bit, actually. I learned, because our developers all had a meetup, I learned that one of our developers, I will not name their name, but they said they don't do any fun money. They don't do any, like we call it his and her money, or fun money, or extra money, or whatever money. You can name it whatever you want. So they don't do that. I was a little bit alarmed by that, and this is the principle. When you're bench pressing or budgeting, it can feel like, well, one, it can feel very heavy, and as you come down, you're going to say, okay, the objective is to get the weight back up, get my arms locked out, and with budgeting, the objective is to kind of just feel like you're making progress. Whether it's that you're staying below your spending targets, or you're reaching some goals, whatever it may be. A lot of the time when we evaluate the success or the effectiveness of budgeting, we're saying, is it good? Is it not good? And if you'd watched the Olympics recently, you would have seen, especially the Olympic lifting portions, which you'd really want to see, you would see that when they do the clean and jerk, when they do the snatch, they have to show control of the weight, they have to show their arms locked out, they can't be wobbling around, they get the nod from the judge and they're good. It's very binary. It's like you either did it or you didn't, and there's no gray. Right? With budgeting, people evaluate it the same way. They shouldn't, but they do. They say, oh, budgeting didn't work, or budgeting works great, and those are all YNABers. But for the vast majority of the population, unfortunately, they just say budgeting doesn't work. What I propose is, if you think back to your bench pressing days, and you're laying there under the bar, and you just can't get the weight up, and then you have a spotter. And I won't tell you about the time there was a spotter hanging over me and they dripped some sweat from their sweaty hair and it landed right on my upper lip during my lift. We won't talk about that. It was traumatic. But spotters, for the most part, are pretty pleasant people. And what's amazing is you can feel like you cannot move the weight, and you physically cannot move it. And then the spotter can come with just an index finger or two and just kind of slowly just add what? A pound maybe? A pound of extra lift. And suddenly your binary experience of did I make the lift? Did I not make the lift? Suddenly you made the lift, right? With just the spotter, just literally just a hair's touch just lifting that bar up, and you get it. With budgeting, it's the same thing. And so I think that the fun money, that bit of breathing room that you can add, $5 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month, I don't care. Julie and I used to have it be $5 a month, and that was all we needed. But the key was, it's like the spotter, that extra little bit of breathing room, that extra bit where you don't have to be super accountable, where you don't have to be super tight-fisted, where you can just say, you know what, I can blow this money on whatever I want. I don't have to tell anyone about it. It's mine. That little bit of just whatever money makes all the difference. That can make budgeting look like an epic failure and then turn it around and have it be a total success. Again, going back to that binary idea, it either works or it doesn't. So my plea to you, if you want to be in this for the long haul and not feel like you're just tightening the belt and tightening the belt and tightening the belt, and every time you get a little bit of breathing room, you just tighten the belt again, my plea is that you bring in a spotter, bring in a little bit of that fun money, a little bit of the money that's just yours, right, between spouses. You don't have to talk to each other about the purchases. You decide what amount is correct. It does not have to be a large amount. Remember that spotter can just barely touch the bar and suddenly you're successful. It can just be a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of extra help, and that can make all the difference. Suddenly budgeting looks successful. So this was the first, probably last lesson about bench pressing and budgeting, but I think there's a lesson there. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. I will see you then.